Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm BJ Coleman. Welcome to another edition of Image Elevators with BJ Coleman. On this show, we talk about public image and the importance of it and how you, the listeners and the viewers, can gather some tips that will help you harness and leverage your own public image and brand to work in your favor in your personal life and in your career. And today, I am joined by a very special guest, my friend of more than something years, the wonderful Valeisha Butterfield.
Hi,
Valeisha,
BJ.
welcome so much. Welcome to Image Elevators.
Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to follow in your footsteps.
Both out here grinding still.
How is everything?
Everything is going well. I am in a good space with just everything, career, life, family, but it's been a journey and you've been right there.
Yeah, you know what's so funny? Because I want to talk to you about your career for sure. And obviously I have been right there with you. Mm-hmm. And it's been so fascinating to watch your rise, and to see how many people admire and respect you. Mm-hmm. I think I've actually did I hire you for a speaking job at one point?
I think so.
I think I did as well, for a client.
Yes.
So it's been for a government client.
Yes.
And that I had that was doing a women's empowerment thing, and they wanted you. Yeah. I didn't have to recommend you; they wanted you. But it's been very fascinating and very wonderful to watch your career rise. So I'm honored to have you on the show because I think you can share a lot of your wisdom and experience with the listeners today. So with that being said, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, how you got started. Obviously, I know some of the answers to the questions I'll be asking today, but for those that don't know.
You know, it's, BJ, again, you were right there. It's been this crazy 25-year journey almost. And I grew up in a little town in Wilson, North Carolina, to two parents who were politicians. And so, you know, speaking of image elevators, I just remember being a young girl in North Carolina under this huge microscope. Right? My parents were both elected officials, public servants. And so as long as I could remember, you know, you just always felt like you were, you know, you couldn't hide. And so for me, I wanted to just create a career outside of my parents' footsteps and outside their shadow. And so I went on to New York after Clark Atlanta University and landed an unpaid internship and found myself in the Rush Communications office. And I was 23 years old. And it's a funny story, Big J, because I don't know if you remember how we actually first met.
I don't remember how we actually first met, but I remember you telling me that you were an intern.
Yes.
I remember you working there, obviously. But
so Dr. Ben Chavis.
Yes.
And Tanisha Jackson Warner. Mm-hmm. And a few other people, including our boss, brought me in as an unpaid intern into the office. And I'll never forget because they put me on the Hip Hop Summit Rush Philanthropic side. But I was so eager and hungry to just explore this entertainment industry in those departments. And so I'll never forget, there was a day that Simone, I think it was, sent a bulletin or an email around the office and said, hey.
Simone was Russell Simmons' assistant at the time.
Russell's assistant. And she said, hey, Phat Farm and Baby Phat are looking for an intern or someone to just support them for the day. And I'll never forget being eager, like, all right, I'm going to go intern for the day in the Baby Phat office. And I walked up to your office. They said, okay, BJ's looking for someone. And I walked into your office, and you were such a boss. I had no idea at the time that we were the same age, or you were even younger than me.
That's so funny.
Because you were like VP of comms,
I was senior director of public relations.
Okay.
But at 24.
At 24,
yeah.
Senior director. And so I remember walking into your office, and you were just so fabulous. And you had magazines everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere throughout your office. And you looked me up and down, and you said, welcome to my office. And I said, thank you. And you said, welcome to Baby Phat. And I said, thank you. And you said, I want you to organize every magazine in this office in chronological order and by title and publication. And I was like, wow.
I do not remember that.
And about 10 hours later, I was done. And so anyway, it's been this wild 25-year journey from entertainment to politics, working for President Obama for 4 years, Google, tech, and of course the Grammys as their co-president.
Yeah. Now you talk about living in the shadow of your parents. Really quickly, can you tell everyone who your parents are?
Yeah.
And why did you feel like you would be living in their shadows, or what does that feel like? I mean, I didn't have parents who had any kind of public persona. So
You know, it's so funny because people say PC, preacher's kid. I call it politicians, PK, politician's kid, preacher's kid, or child. And so for me, my dad was a United States congressman. Before that, appointed to the North Carolina Supreme Court. Before that, a Superior Court judge. And so, imagine your dad being a judge when you're growing up. And, I'm from rural North Carolina. It was not uncommon for friends of mine, colleagues, classmates to end up in court with my dad, or just to have a knock on the door or someone ring your doorbell at 2 a.m. asking for guidance or asking for support or asking for their son to be bailed out. And so that was just the way we lived. And then my mom was in the North Carolina State House of Representatives, and she served there for more than 2 decades. And so, both of my parents were, again, politicians for as long as I can remember. And so there was just a lot of pressure to follow in their footsteps, to go to law school, to run for elected office.
and you did not do that.
No, well, I went to law school for a year
Okay.
and dropped out because I just knew that was not the life that I wanted.
At what point did you realize that? And
Oh my
obviously in
gosh.
law school. And
Oh my
what was
gosh.
that aha moment? What was that?
I'll tell you exactly what it was. So my first day in law school.
Because you went to law school with the intention of being a lawyer and
Yes.
following in your parents' footsteps. And did you love that idea, or was something telling you at
I
the
wasn't
time?
honest.
You weren't honest. Looking back on it, or even going into it.
Going into it.
You knew you weren't being honest.
Yeah.
But you couldn't confront that.
Correct. So I told my parents that I wanted to be a serious attorney. In my mind, I reconciled it and said, okay, you're going to be an entertainment lawyer. And so that was going to be my trade-off. Okay, I'm going to go to law school for 3 years, move to New York City, become an entertainment attorney, but didn't tell my parents that. And so I remember first day in law school, I mean, literally, vividly right now. And both of my parents had gone to that school, North Carolina Central University, for undergrad and law school. And our professor, the dean of the school, said, look to your left, look to your right. By the end of this year, someone won't be sitting here. And I didn't need to do it. I knew it was me. I mean, everyone else was just so excited, so eager. They were just hungry to study law, and I had my head in New York City.
And this is after Clark Atlanta.
Yeah.
And, Rush Communications, what people may not know, is Russell Simmons's umbrella company, which Fat Farm fell under, Def Jam, so forth and so on. So we were working there in our 20s. But prior to you having that internship, you also worked with Wu-Tang when you were at Clark Atlanta for undergrad. So you already had your idea of working in entertainment.
Yeah.
Early on?
Oh, 18 years
Me too.
old. Maybe 7 years old.
Me too. I was 5.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in the television. I was like, how do you get in this box?
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I knew it probably from 7. I thought I wanted to work in music specifically. And then at 18 years old in Atlanta, Clark Atlanta University, I walked to the Wu-Tang office after class one day. It took hours and hours and cold pitched myself and landed a job on the spot.
And so do you feel then that your passion is in entertainment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No question. But I also knew that it required me to innovate and move and expand outside of those traditional constructs. And so, if we look
Because you're not an actress.
Not an actress.
You're not a singer.
I wish. Not a singer at all. And I'm not a traditional music executive, right? So if you look at the industry now, I'm so thankful that I started to expand and innovate and work in tech and work in politics, because I think it requires all of us to start expanding outside of those boxes to become a more full executive. And so music and entertainment is definitely my passion, though.
And you had talked about, obviously, because I've heard you talk about it in other podcasts, so I don't want to get into it too much, the importance of it. Internship. I agree with that wholeheartedly, because that's how I started my career as well. But how then did you transition in your story, because you kind of jumped very quickly, from interning to executive?
Okay, so I'll start with Russell's office. I remember, just finding my way as an unpaid intern. And I should say I had worked full-time before Russell's office for HBO. And so I had a full-time job. I was an executive assistant. Before that, the Gersh agency as an intern. And so I kind of zigzagged from intern to assistant back to intern because I was that hungry to work. And after maybe 9 months of pounding the pavement, I found a gap in Rush, which was to bring in revenue. And so I said, all right, if I can start bringing in revenue to the business, maybe I can find a way for them to cut me a check. And so honestly, that's where it began. I just knew that, there were a lot of creative people in the space, but not enough people bringing in revenue to the business. And so the first deal that I think I helped cut was Enterprise Rent-A-Car and Anheuser-Busch and Chrysler Financial, renewing those deals. And then that's when I was able to solidify my spot as a rising executive.
Did that also help you understand your place in the boardroom?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I'll say, I used to sit in creative meetings at Rush. I remember the green bracelets. I'll never forget sitting in the conference room and everyone was talking about this green bracelet idea. And,
And had the raw diamond.
And it was a whole thing. And I remember sitting in that meeting like, this is not my lane, right? I didn't feel inspired by it. I didn't feel creatively like I was contributing. But when I had the product, that's when I knew I could activate differently. And so, I think pretty early on, I knew that I wanted to be in a creative space, but bringing revenue into the business.
We both started our careers in New York, but now you live in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles. What brought you to LA? Was it work? Was it life choices? What brought you to LA? Love.
Love. I'll be
Lucky
honest.
You.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to bring you to.
It was love. Husband at the time wanted to move to LA. His children were here, and it's LA. And so it felt exciting.
His children from another relationship?
Correct.
Because you guys have children?
Correct, yes.
Are we saying who your husband is?
We can. It's fine.
Okay.
Dante
Jones, former NBA star.
Yes, and at the time he played for the LA Clippers. And so, his career of many years brought him to the Clippers.
How old were you when you got married?
32.
Now, and I'm jumping around here because I like to just have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's not an interview, although traditionally has been interviews. But
let's talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. So you were 32 when you got married. So you are as a young professional, and trying to navigate the world of entertainment. Was marriage
politics
on your
at the time?
Politics.
So now I'm working for Obama.
Okay. So you went from Russell Simmons to Obama, because I certainly remember the campaigning, and I was involved with that. Tatiana Ali was involved in
it. Shout out to Tatiana.
Shout out to Tatiana Ali, who has
Anastasia.
Baby Yams now, and Anastasia at Disney. But my question is, was marriage on your horizon?
Oh my gosh, there's nothing I wanted more.
So when you wanted marriage more than a career?
No, I wanted a career most, but I had the career, and so now marriage was like a close runner-up, because I was turning 30 and I felt the pressure, and I felt like I was not whole until I was married. I had that kind of traditional thinking that you have to be married to be a whole.
Not that I was looking for an answer, but the reason why I'm asking that is because I often, as someone who works with a lot of women, powerful women, and sits and manages their interviews, they're often asked, whether it was Kamora Lee Simmons or whether it's Vivica A. Fox, they're often asked, can a woman have it all? And I hate that question, because I feel like in asking that question, you're living up to social pressures of what does that even mean. So in your mind, what does that even mean? And was that what you were seeking? And do you regret feeling any pressure from it? Or
I'll be honest.
What do you tell other women who are 29, 30, doing well in their careers and feel that same pressure?
I've never said this before, but it's my truth. I think women can have it all, but can the people in your life handle that? And
what does you mean by having it all?
Have the career, have the marriage, have the family, have the home, have the friend circle. I think it's possible because I had it. I did. And I thought that I had it together, if I'm being honest. I had everything that I prayed for was literally at my doorstep, and I was living it, right? I had the dream job. I had the dream family, I thought. I had the dream marriage. I had the dream home, the dream car, just all the things. Parents still alive and healthy and living and thriving, in my own physical good health. I genuinely didn't want more in my life at the time, other than to just keep growing professionally, but it fell apart.
So then how did you have it all if you couldn't maintain it?
Because you have to be sure that as you grow and build these things, that the people in your life feel like they're a part of it, and that they too feel like they're participating in it. And I think that's probably where, I didn't think it through, right? Because when you have it all, you're just trying to keep it all, right? It's one thing to have it. It's another thing to keep it and to maintain it. And the maintenance of it can require so much of you, especially as a woman, that you are just moving full speed because you think everything's fine, right? And you don't sometimes look around and say, is everybody else okay? Because I thought everything was great, but I can honestly say, looking back, that I wasn't paying enough attention to how other people around me were experiencing me having it all and success, if that makes sense.
And you said at the outset of this question that you think that women can have it all, but can the people around them accept it or
handle it?
Yeah,
handle it.
And did you find yourself that people couldn't handle you having it all?
Yeah.
And who was that?
Yes, sometimes friends, sometimes family members, and even my partner, right? I think that.
And did that show up how did that show up? As jealousy? Did it show up as?
Like quiet quitting. The way that you would describe, the workplace right now, same thing in relationships, like quiet quitting. And I think that, at the end of the day, the people in your life want to feel like they are the most important people in your life. And even if they are, I think sometimes we can assume that everything's okay, right? And so I think that, for sure the quiet quitting was starting to happen around me, where friends didn't get a call back, and so they fell back. Or the partner didn't feel like maybe he was getting enough attention, so he fell back. And I didn't see the signs, right? Because again, I thought everything was fine. And so I think, can you have it all? Yes. But are you incomplete without it? No. And that's the journey that I'm on right now, right?
And is it necessary to have it all?
And is it necessary? Absolutely. Is it necessary? And
because maybe you can just have a career and be happy.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can just have a husband and child and be a housewife and be fine.
Yes.
You don't need a career.
Yes.
Do you feel that women feel that pressure still to have it all? And is that what a lot of women are striving for?
I think a lot of women and people feel the pressure right now. I don't feel it the way that I did before. I'm single, still with a career that I love, beautiful family, beautiful kids. And I do want a relationship for sure. But do I feel, I do.
I thought you were in one.
No.
We'll talk about that
Very
off camera.
single, so sad. But
that's good though. Now we're talking about on the podcast. And maybe somebody will see this and slide in your DMs or something.
Please stay out the DMs.
Do you not respond to messages in the DMs?
I have an autoresponder now. It's very, very disrespectful.
Okay, so I'm not trying to put anybody on blast, but I love beautiful things, beautiful people being one of them, obviously, and I keep a circle of beautiful friends, yourself included. So with that being said, and we haven't talked about this off camera, but some of my female friends, I'm aghast by them telling me some of the famous men that are in their DMs. Do you get famous men in your DMs?
Almost every day.
Almost every day.
I'm not even joking. Raj, who's here on second, attest.
A famous man every day.
I'm not joking.
And I'm talking about like A-list famous.
Okay, A-list famous maybe twice a month.
But even B or C is a big deal, I think.
Yeah. A-list famous twice a month maybe. And it's shocking because, and Lala said this recently on a podcast, always the young guys. Like something is going on with the A-list, like under 35, under 30 guys, where I don't know, they love it here.
And you never responded, or you do respond to some of them? Do you entertain any of them?
Depends on who it is.
Depends on who it is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure.
Anyone you care to share?
No, but some really interesting folks. But I'm not naturally attracted to younger anymore. I used to be. But, I'm in a season where I would like to learn some things and be taught some things. I'm a little tired of teaching.
I understand. How have you reinvented yourself, going back to, career, how have you reinvented yourself for each position or role that you had? I mean, you worked in Google, which was tech. You were co-president of the Recording Academy, which is music. Now, you're an entrepreneur and CEO of Seed Media. Sorry, I just want to get it right. Don't kill me, Raj. Okay. So if you maybe you haven't, but did you find that you had to reinvent yourself? And if you did, how were you able to do so?
Just staying curious and staying hungry. I think for me, whenever I feel like I'm not learning or stretching in a role, I know it's time to go. And for me, tech was so scary, right? I mean, working for Google, it's one of the top companies in the world. And super global, huge team, huge budget. And so it required me to stretch in new ways. Same thing with the Grammys, different muscle, but, to go in as a chief diversity officer, get promoted to co-president, new lane, new stretch, right? Because I was officially, running an organization and company for the first time. Well, not really for the first time, but for the first time in a while. And so that was a stretch. So yeah, I think, it's staying curious, staying hungry, and always like, I'm starving for the stretch. Mm-hmm. Whenever I feel like I'm not growing, I know I'm getting restless.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced?
It's weird, right? I think, some people talk about how hard it is. And I experienced this, especially when I was younger, just being taken seriously. I think, often we're underestimated as women in a space, or you come in with the Balenciaga boots and, you come in, dressed a certain way. And no matter how smart or qualified or how many receipts you have, there is this tendency for us in the room sometimes to be underestimated. And not
Who
just
by women or black?
Women generally, but, I think especially, women who enter the room with qualifications, but still like we bring a level of style to it. We may have an image and a brand in the marketplace, and that for many can be frowned on.
Do you find it hard? Because I find it hard. It's like it's a double-edged sword. Yeah. Like having a public persona has worked for me, certainly in business, or as a consultant, or as a brand. Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily work for me when I'm trying to. So other publicists hate it because they think, you're a publicist, you should be behind the scenes, or da 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 da. And it doesn't necessarily work for me if I'm looking to go in house. Yeah. You're big. You're they think I might be competing, or even trying to get a celebrity client. They think, well, who's the star? But they don't know that I will fall back. I'm not interested in trying to be a star, but being well known helps me create business opportunities.
That bothers me so much. It's such an antiquated, old school way of thinking, right? Whenever I've been in conversations, I even had an offer recently, just before the offer, for a CEO role. Not recent, but a couple years ago, but big CEO role with a major global brand in sports. And I'll never forget, in the final conversation before the offer came, the woman who was sitting across the table said to me, I looked at your social media profile. She had no social footprint. She said, I looked at your social media profile, I searched you up, and, I just have one final question for you. Is it more shine or more grind? Mm. The next day received the offer and declined it because it taught me in that moment that they were so living in the past, right? With just like how business flows, what the value of an executive is, how much we provide not only in impact through our work, but in profile, right? Sometimes things are triaged, relationships are established, phone calls are made because we have established that track record, that reputation, the relationships for that to be possible. Like you have an image, BJ, not because of anything other than the work you put in, right? And same for me. And so, I actually think that it's laughable now when someone even has that approach. It's like, that's actually what you want, because you wouldn't even be focused on that with me.
And I agree with you. And I think it's also more profound to be known for your work when you're not an actor or you're not an entertainer. Yeah. I think, that says something about the person, which is a good thing. But again, I think I think it's also, about people being intimidated by light.
Yeah, that's it.
And also feeling they have to compete. Yes. I had a job recently where it was just horrible because, people who are above you feel like they have to compete with you. And there's no reason to compete, I feel. So I get that. How do you overcome life's challenges? Are you spiritual?
I am.
Are you religious?
I am. I'm both. I grew up in the church, the home church back in North Carolina that I'm from. My great-grandfather was the founding pastor, and I still go to church now. So I'm religious and spiritual. God's definitely at the center. I'll say, though, and it's like that old saying, like, faith without works is dead. So I handle challenges for sure through my faith, but also through therapy, right? Like I go to therapy. I didn't believe in it for a while. I shouldn't say that. I always believed in therapy. I never went because I was just like, I'm fine. I go to church. I'm fine. I pray. I have wine with my girls. We cried out. But, therapy, it has to be a part of the equation now. I'll say, too, I'm pretty good at, when I go hard, but when I rest, I rest. And I've done a better job lately of that, right? Like I'm going on vacation soon.
Me too. As I've gotten older,
Right?
I recognize the power of vacation. Also, when I was young too, like when I go to St. Bart's,
Yes.
it'd be nice to go to St. Bart's, but I'd be working in St.
But
Bart's.
you're tired.
And I'm working. I'm not going to St. Bart's on my own dime,
Yes,
Even though I
exactly.
can enjoy the sun or
It's
the
true.
beach or whatever. But now as you have a little bit more resources and a little bit more opportunity, it's not like I'm going to Miami for vacation. I go to really nice vacations.
Well, that's the thing.
And it's me time.
I went to Tokyo last year, but with Google, and I don't remember Tokyo like that.
Right.
I was just, the agenda was packed, and I'm going again in 3 weeks. And this time,
Take me with you.
let's go. It's going to be cute. Yeah.
Now, when you go to Tokyo, will you take the kids?
No.
No. Are you going by yourself?
Have friends.
I'm scared to ask too many questions.
BJ's asking all the hard questions.
Okay, let me. Sorry. Okay. It takes me to my next question because, we've known each other since we were in our 20s, obviously, and now we're in our 40s, which I'm not ashamed to say, but I don't love saying it at the same time. And I don't want to ask you like what you would tell your 20-year-old self, but, obviously with age comes wisdom, as we just talked about in terms of being able to enjoy a vacation and understand the power of me time. But what have you learned as a 40-year-old woman that you wish you had known in your 20s?
Say how you really feel. Straight up. I think that was my biggest challenge. Like I would always just sit on my hands, bite my tongue, not say the real thing out of fear of not being liked or not having the opportunity that I want or not having the boy call me back. Like I was just a people pleaser to a fault. And now I realize that the more I use my voice, the more I say how I really feel, the more I set boundaries and enforce those boundaries, they want me more. The boys want me more.
Yes.
The opportunities, the jobs, because I think it's that authenticity, right? Like people want to see what's real.
Right.
And so whenever we're like putting on those filters, you're actually not only denying yourself those opportunities, but it's just like, who wants to be around someone who's operating in a mask? And so I think for me, that was the biggest lesson. The more I spoke my truth, the more the world opened up for me.
Now, you're a Black woman navigating entertainment, navigating business, navigating politics, and we have, Kamala Harris who's running for president. And this show is about image elevators. So I just want to know, in terms of identity, as a Black woman, what is more important to identify yourself as, being Black or being a woman?
I think it's all the things, right? I think that gone are the days that we have to be put in a box. I for sure stand strong and tall and proud as a Black woman. And I don't separate the two. I'm both. I'm all the things. Speaking of Vice President Kamala Harris, who I believe will be our next president of the United States, I've known Kamala now for many years. And, what we do and how we show up as Black women, her included, right? There's a level of compassion. There's a level of empathy. I was in a car accident some years ago, and she called my phone, right, and asked how I was doing. She sent a note. And then when I saw her over the years, this was like 5 years ago, when I just saw Kamala at the VP residence maybe 2 months ago, she whispered in my ear, like, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm good. And she was like, no. How are you really doing from the accident? This accident was 4 or 5 years ago. And so for her to remember that just 2 months ago and those conversations that we had over time means a lot. And I think those are the details and the nuances that we as a community, especially as Black people and Black women even more, like, it's the level of care that we put into everything that we do, the people that we're with, the careers that we hold, and for her, this huge office, the highest office that I hope she will hold in a few weeks. I can't think of a better person right now to give it the level of care, and us as Americans, the level of care that we need, especially right now.
Quick lightning round of questions.
Yes.
You're supposed to just say the first things that come to your mind that are honest. And you're the first girl on the podcast, which is amazing.
Ladies first.
What are the 3 things you never leave home without?
Carmex.
Okay.
Random.
That's it?
Well,
That's
said,
a must-have. 3 things.
Oh, 3. Okay. Carmex for sure. Santal 33, Le Labo perfume.
I love Le Labo.
Literally, I drown in it every day.
I don't own any of it, but I do love it.
I don't leave the house without it.
The Edition has it, and that's how I fell in love with it.
Oh, yeah,
the Edition
they do.
Hotels.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Santal 33. And then my phone.
What is your favorite restaurant to close a deal?
Ooh, oh, that's a good one. Lately, because I just closed a big one there, Crustaceans. It was a random moment.
Black people love crustaceans.
We do. We
but
love
it's
that
so
garlic
good.
noodle.
It's so good. What is the difference between style and fashion?
Oh, fashion is when you just buy off the rack and you put on whatever is in front of you. Style is when you just like put that ish on, like you could put it together.
What is one career decision you regret?
Oh. I don't have one.
You don't have any career regrets?
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it hasn't.
If you could do everything over the same, you would be the exact same?
Wouldn't change a thing.
What is
Oh, no. Okay. Leaving the Grammys.
Oh.
Leaving the Grammys. Dream job. And I'm still on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still very, very involved. But I left the role at the climax. Like, I mean, we were like really, really growing and building.
And Harvey's still there.
Oh, yeah.
I have such a tremendous respect for him.
Oh, Harvey
He's such a
Mason
nice
Jr.
man.
is amazing.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Integrity through and through. He appointed me to the board. I'm on the TV committee this year. I mean, he's just awesome.
I wish he would hire me.
I'll talk to him.
I just think he's everything.
He's everything.
And he's worked with Whitney Houston.
Like a true leader.
I know, I agree. I met him a couple
leader.
times. I just
Yes.
think he's everything. Describe your personal style.
Classic, but I'm a bit of a label. I don't want to say the word.
I mean, you're dripped in Chanel and Balenciaga. We understand.
I need to do better, but I'm classic, but I do overdo it sometimes with the
That's okay.
with the labels. I need to work on that though.
What do you think about that, though, with labels and Black people? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Honestly, I don't think it's great. And I say that as a person who doesn't, right? Who I do that. And, you know, I just think about ownership. I think about supporting our own brands and labels. And I think about acquiring and buying things that appreciate.
Right.
And sometimes they do, like Chanel appreciates, but I mean like art and homes and property.
And that's my excuse for it in the sense that, you know, I mean, I do own a couple of Dalis, if I may say so myself, but to me, fashion is art.
Yes.
And so,
I agree.
You know, I can't help it that the most intriguing, sometimes the most fabulous things are by Italian, French, or European artists.
It feels good. It looks good. And for me, and probably like you, I feel better when I look better, in my opinion, but I'm trying to reprogram.
And it doesn't have to be like the name. I don't have to be wearing the name. You know, I can be wearing designer and you don't even know. It's called quiet luxury for those of people that don't know. What is your life's purpose?
To lift women.
What inspires you?
Other women.
Then two more. One question for the lightning round, then I'm going to end it after that. What is your greatest strength?
Humility. Self-deprecation. I make fun of myself. I see my flaws. And I acknowledge them before other people do.
And you just launched a Seed Media.
Yes.
What are your short and long-term goals for yourself? And that's the final question.
It's so clear, BJ.
It's so clear.
It's so crystal clear for the first time in my
How
life.
did you get it crystal clear? Through meditation?
Just spending 25 years building other people's businesses. And I couldn't figure out what my thing was. And it finally clicked one day. Think of Hello Sunshine, Reese Witherspoon's model. But taking books and turning them into TV and film to basically tell our stories, the most iconic stories of our time. And so if we don't tell our stories, someone else will. And so everything we do starts with a book. I'm so proud of our first film, The Memo, based on Mendel Hart's best-selling book starring Kyla Pratt. And it's incredible. I feel so blessed that I had the resources to do it. I had the relationships to do it. And when you guys see it, it is going to blow your mind.
When is it out?
Next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but
we're
people have
moving
already
it
been
to
seeing
series.
it. The trailer's
We've
already
been having
out.
screenings. We're doing the film festivals now. So we submitted to Sundance. We submitted to all the festivals. So we're going to do a festival run through March and then move it to series. But it's, I'm really proud.
Do you have any other books that you're looking to turn into film?
I mean, of course, you know, there are a few books that I would love to turn into film. Like, I would love to explore Lucky Me, Rich Paul's book. I would love, of course, Sister Soldier, Coldest Winter Ever. I have some.
I think Jada Pinkett owns that, right?
Does she still? I love
believe
it.
she does.
Well, Jada, let's talk. We can partner. I would love to partner with Jada and Will to produce that and bring it to life because there are just iconic stories sitting on the shelves that our community's like dying to see on film. And so, you know, they're on my wish list.
Yeah, there's a book that I have too. I don't want to say the name of it because I might get it wrong.
Westbrook, let's talk.
There you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, Valeisha Butterfield. Thank you so much, Valeisha.
Thank you, BJ.
I appreciate you.
You too.
You're the best.
You are the best.
Oh, stop it.
I'm serious.
No, you're the best.
No, seriously. Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
You have always been a light.
Oh.
No, I mean it.
Thank you.
But for you to take this step on the pod, it's even more who you are, right? You have so many relationships, but most importantly, so much trust.
Oh.
Like, no, it's true.
Thanks.
Like, we trust you. When I walked in, for those who are watching, when I walked in, BJ said, you know, is there anything that's off limits? The answer was no, because I trust you.
And
so just thank you.
Her assistant, I don't want to say any names, or her help, or her partner, business partner here was like, oh, getting nervous. But, you know, I was like, I've known Valeisha for a long time. So,
but that's what we do.
I appreciate you. And I'm proud of you and everything that you have going on. And it's so wonderful to watch your rise. And it's been great just sitting on the sidelines and watching you do what you do. And I think you're such an asset to the industry and to our community and culture. And, you know, I wish you the best and I hope you keep rising.
I mean, when are you going to hook me up with someone?
We'll talk about that off camera.
Ciao.
You guys, this has been Image Elevators with BJ Coleman. Make sure you catch us wherever you catch your podcast. And you can also check out our YouTube page, which I think is YouTube /Image Elevators with BJ Coleman. See you next time.